Russell Media, always hungry, never thirsty.
I was a street DJ, you know. I took a couple of my mom's component sets and rewired them different ways so I can have two turntables, and I used the balance knob as the fader, you know. Learn to DJ. That Christmas after that, Mom's got me a mixer, you know. Went around the neighborhood, got a turntable from this fool, turntable from this fool, put it together, and it was DJing. World-class wrecking crew. Well, that was the name of the DJ group that DJ'd at the Eve After Dark, you know, because it was, then it was Yella, Unknown. There used to be a guy there named Dr. Rock, you know, but he left and went to Dallas to DJ there because the competition got too hectic out here, I guess. Me and Ice Cube would get together and we would listen to other rappers' songs, and we would go in the club and then change the lyrics around and make a dirty version of their song. You know what I'm saying? So we just decided to do that on record over our own tracks. You know, we wasn't trying to, you know, put any image out or anything like that. We was just doing records, you know, to make some money. Original members of NWA, Ice Cube, myself, Ren, Easy, and Arabian Prince.
I'm expressing with my full capabilities, and now I'm living in correctional facilities, cause some don't agree with how I do this. I get straight and meditate like a Buddhist.
Everybody's rolling in NWA. When we got together was when it first started out, it was supposed to be like an all-star type of thing. Everybody was into their own thing, and everybody was the best at what they did, you know. But we had to weed out some of the false people, you know. So everybody that was in it was the bomb at what they did, you know, except for a couple of people like Easy. You know, he was a puppet on a string doing what somebody told him to do, you know, and he still is. That's why he's gonna fail in the long run.
Ice Cube, it's not for the pop chart. So where should a brother like you start expressing yourself, my boy, and show you how your track? What up? Drop English right about now.
Some of the ideas back then was just to do something, you know, everybody was just like trying to do the right thing, you know. And that's what it was called back then, do the right thing, you know. And we were like, yo, we got to do something different. You know, we got to do something that we want to do. We went in the studio and did the kind of music that we like to listen to.
We started with 5, but yo, what couldn't take it? So now it's 4, because the 5th couldn't make it. The number's even, now I'm leaving. But never getting to by a woman with a weave.
Ice Cube left the group because of financial problems and the manager side of it, you know. We had a whack manager. He was the first person to open his eyes to it, you know. He left before he was locked in, so it was easy for him to leave.
This one goes out to the 4 brothers from Compton. You're almost there, but the FBI has a little message for you. Good luck, brothers.
As far as I'm concerned, I ain't even gonna front. Ice Cube was smart in what he did back in the day, you know. He didn't sign the contracts that they presented for us. And he was smart for that, you know. I signed the contracts, and I got jerked.
Ray, I was speaking to your girl O'Shea, and as we roll on, I seen the patrol on creep. So we got ghosts before they beat me and ran in a black CE. Yo, humping some funky tracks by the DOC.
After Ice Cube left the group, you know, we said, okay, we got to show everybody that, you know, we didn't really need a certain person for us to make a hit record, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm the type of person I can get anybody in the studio and make a hit record off of them. If they have any kind of talent, I can pull it out of them.
I heard a dope beat. Somebody told me to go through it, but if Dre didn't do it, I can't flow to it. And WA is like a mix of hard time and hard rhymes. In the same line, you're taking a chance when you think that talking under your breath won't lead to young death. Taking a life ain't nothing but a killing for a brother labeled as being a young black villain.
The same reason Ice Cube left the group is the reason I left. You know, the manager was whack. We were getting jerked for money. You know, we wasn't getting paid what we were supposed to. And I'm the type of person, I don't want no more, no less than what I'm supposed to get. If I can't have that, I can't be around.
I got a taste for wasting and tasting the blood. Murder, I heard her when she screamed and dropped cause the son caught the slug. Relay this to no choice and listen to the straight up man before they ban the boys.
Me and Ren are still cool. We don't talk that much, but you know, when we do talk, yo, what's up? You know, we sit down and chit chat.
Appetite for destruction, but before he decides to quit, he gotta commit murder in the first degree, a manslaughter, taking the life of his wife and young daughter. A whole city of women that be smoking up, and the brothers is killing and straight looking up. Whoever said what I'm saying's for greed, denying even what they trying to feed. My appetite for destruction.
I tried to work things out, you know, but wasn't meeting up to my expectations, you know, had to get on.
Yo, because I'm in it for life from the beginning, I was stacking. Now everybody wanna jack in, I'm watching the softy, funk strong as coffee.
As far as I'm concerned, there's no future for NWA. Me, Ren, Cube, everybody, Yella, I mean, we can even kick it. We can kick it, do some work, whatever. But as far as Easy goes, he's through with me. He's out, through.
Yo, what's up? This is Dr. Dre, and right now you're checking out my past, present, and future. So chill out for a minute.
Sitting in a cell where the crime was
Back then, I didn't have a sampler. We didn't know what sampling was then. So we used to have to play what we wanted to rap on or what have you. So I'm pretty much still doing the same thing. You know, I sample something if it just can't be replayed or if it's that funky, you know. But other than that, I try to play. I try to, you know, create music.
Swing down, I wanna ride. Swing down, I wanna ride.
A couple of people called me at the studio. It's like, yo, George Clinton want to meet you. I was like, what? Get out of here, you know. So about an hour later, he was walking in the studio. You know, he had a song, said he wanted me to do something on. You know, we just all sat there and wrote my little part. My part is just basically sounds like I'm on a telephone. You know, and he did a couple of things for me also. He's way out. You know, a lot of fun.
This is Dr. Dre, control. Could I speak to the president? Yeah, just tell him he was smoking last night at the club, you know what I'm saying? What, he don't inhale? Well, I know I got the wrong house. Did somebody beat me from there?
As far as working with artists that's already out there, as far as like Michael Jackson goes and everybody that's out that's already big, I'm not into that. You know, I'm into like developing artists because I like seeing people blow up. You know what I'm saying? I like watching the reaction from people when the first time they get mobbed or something like that. You know, the first time somebody asked them for an autograph or something. You know, that's what I like. You know, as far as me doing something for somebody that's already made it, it don't even move me.
One, and it comes the 2 to the 3 and 4. Then I drop the beat I have installed.
This guy that was in the wrecking crew that I was talking about earlier, Dr. Rock, he moved to Dallas, Texas, and he was a big DJ down there. And he called me to come be a special guest. He had a radio show. He called me to come be a special guest on his radio show. He had this group called the Feel Fresh Crew. And Doc was a part of that group. And, you know, I was like, the stuff that they were doing then was just straight whack, you know? So I was like, I pulled Doc to the side. I was like, yo, man, you need to come down here and get with me, man. We could hook up. And he was kicking a few rhymes for me. And he was like, yo, I can't do that to my homies and, you know, that kind of thing. And I was like, what's more important to you? Your homies are eating. It's the formula. After about a month, he called me and said, send me a ticket, man. So I said, get you some songs together first. And he's like, man, I had my whole album wrote in about a week. About a week went by and he said, it's done. Sent him a ticket and he flew down. And we were still working on the NWA album at the time. So he did, you know, a lot of writing for the first NWA album. So we put him on that. We featured him on a couple of songs on that. so it wouldn't be as hard for him to come out. You know, he had a little bit of exposure, and we also took him on tour with us.
You're the only girl for me. I love y'all. I think I love y'all. I love you.
First reaction when I heard Michelle talk was, matter of fact, I was working on an NWA project in the garage. And she came in talking, and Yella brung her in. I was like, she gonna sing on something. And she was like, what's up? I'm like, yeah, right, okay. And I left, you know, like, yeah, right. I left. So I came back, and he played me what they had done. I was like, who was that? You know? It's like, that was baby that was here last night. So I said, I gotta hear this myself. So she came back over and she sung. I couldn't believe it. Snoop's been around a while, you know. Him and my brother been good friends for a long time. You know, so I've always seen him here and there. But I never really knew he could rap. But him and my brother and this guy named Nate Dogg had a little group called 213, you know. So they put their little demo tapes together and everything. And I was at a bachelor party for one of my friends, and my brother was there, and he popped the tape in. And I was like, yo, who was that? It's like, that's Snoop. So the next day, I had him in the studio working on some stuff.
Creep with me as I crawl through the hood. Maniac, lunatic, call him Snoop Eastwood. Kicking dust as I bust police. And you never hear me howling about peace. So yo, you should know I don't care for a cop. So why would you really ever think that it would stop?
And I felt like that Deep Cover soundtrack would be a good, you know, a good time to put Snoop out there, you know. I knew it was gonna take a lot of work to get him to where he is now.
6:05 was the time on the clock when me and my homie bailed in the parking lot. The scene looked strange and it felt like a setup.
Better not be, 'cause if it is, they get lit up.
Oh,
They tricked me into doing a video, tricked me into getting on the set. They were like, okay, it's gonna be a commercial. All we need is a commercial. You know, all you gotta do is say a few things in the camera. Next thing I know, it's this big film crew there. Man, come on, just do it, man. You know? So I was like, all right. I went on and did it. One day shoot, and it blew up.
Yeah, and you don't stop.
cause it's 187 on an undercover car.
Yeah, and you don't stop.
Cause it's 187 on an undercover car.
Yeah.
The Source cover. I guess that's how I felt at that time. 92 just wasn't my year.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg.
What I wanted to do was just basically do a Quincy Jones type of thing. I didn't want to rap. I didn't want to do any rapping and nothing like that. I just wanted to produce. I wanted to get like the best rappers that I could find, put them on my album. I just did the tracks and let them rap on my tracks and what have you.
Peeping and I'm creeping and I'm creeping. But I damn near got kept, cause my beeper kept beeping. Now it's time for me to make my impression felt. So sit back, relax, and strap on your seatbelt. You've never been on a ride like this before. With a producer who can rap and control the maestro. At the same
I didn't really want to do a record. You know, I don't like the way I sound on tape. And we did a couple of demos at home, and they were all pumped up on it. And Doc was like, yo, man, you need to go and just, you know, go in there and do it. Let's go and do it. So, damn, I went in and did it, and it came out funky.
The music he was doing was like, it's what I was about.
Mr. Buster, where you at? Can't scrap.
Dre Day, it's like the year 92. A whole bunch of suckers were saying what they had to say, you know. So I said, damn, you know, it must be Dre Day, and everybody celebrating, you know. In the studio came up with a funky track, and I heard something about Luke had just something like that. I never even heard the record. I still haven't heard the record. I don't listen to that type of music, you know. So we had the first two verses done, and he fit in perfect with the third verse. I don't ever talk about any women. Talk about bitches. Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there, too. If a guy says bitch, it's wrong. It's just like if a white person says nigga, it's wrong. You know, we finna handle this. You know what I'm saying? If another brother says nigga, it's cool. If another woman calls another woman bitch, it's cool. But if a fella calls a woman bitch, it's wrong. What's up? We all know some bitches out there. You know, money hungry, scandalous, you know. So we talk about those percentage, that percentage of women.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door, ready to make an entrance. So back on up.
Before I have to pull the strap out the cut.
Back in the day when we used to get together and decide how the video was going to look, we would sit down with the person that was going to direct the video and say, look, this is what we want. This is how we want it to look. We want this to happen at this part. We want this to happen at this part. And he would take our ideas and put it on film. So I said, why not just cut out the middleman, you know? Take my ideas and put them on film myself.
Give me the microphone first so I can bust like a bubble. Compton and Long Beach together, now you know you in trouble, cause ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Two loped out G's, so we crazy. Death Row is the label that pays me. Unfadable, so please don't try to fake this. But back to the lecture at hand. Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Doggy Dogg's definitely in the house. Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Death Row's definitely in the house. Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. The sounds of a dog brings me to another day.
Creeping down the back street on D's. I got my Glock cocked and feeling the breeze, but no sooner as I said it, seems I got sweated by somebody with a Tech 9 trying to take mine. You wanna make noise, make noise. I make a phone call, my homies coming like the Gotti boys.
If somebody called me up and asked me to do a video, I'd have to refuse unless it was, you know, a Death Row project, or unless I just knew him pretty good, you know. It's just a lot of funky beats, funky rhymes, you know. I'll tell you the truth, I haven't really got all the way into it yet, you know. I listen to it every day, though. Checking it out, but it's funky.
You don't love me, you just love my doggy style.
Snoop has a different sound altogether, you know. I don't think it's another rapper out there that sounds like Snoop and could compete with him in his style. You know, Snoop is a good freestyler also, you know. He can go in the studio and just freestyle a whole song. You know, he doesn't have to write or anything, so he's just different altogether than me.
So I ain't holding nothing back, and once again I got 5 on the 20s. It's like that, and as a matter of fact, cause I never hesitate to put a fool on his back.
Yeah, so keep out the manuscript. You see that it's a must we drop gangsta.
Hold up, what's my name?
This is like an introduction, letting everybody know that I'm still with Dre, but now it's time for me to go solo and do my own thing, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's one of those songs that just won't stop.
None of y'all can get with this, and none of y'all can get with that hit I just dropped, cause you know it don't stop. Mr. 187 on the undercover cop tick.
I didn't want to overshadow Dr. Dre. I wanted to play my role. My role was be the supporter, be the strong backbone to this label. So not looking too much, not letting people really get the full picture of me, made them suspicious and anticipating my album like this, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't really know who I am.
The tour was canceled. Well, it wasn't canceled, it was just postponed, you know, because we were having problems, financial problems with the promoter, you know. The money ain't right, can't do it. We're gonna go back out, you know, all the pressure's off. We don't have to worry about finishing any records or anything right now. So we can just go out, do our thing, and have some fun.
Pop, pop, yeah, cause if it don't stop, I have to put my ride in reverse, go back and take another spot, cause I'm rolling in my 6-4.
Negative press? What negative press? I don't see any negative press. You know? All publicity is good publicity as far as I'm concerned. You know, the press can't say anything about me that's gonna make my heart beat any faster. Violence was here before 1965, right? That's the year I was born. And it's gonna be here after I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't come, I'm quite sure nobody came into this earth and it was like, none of the rappers came on this earth and just created violence, you know what I'm saying? It was here. It's gonna happen.
They wanna roll in my funky 6-4 pancake, running back side to side and all that. So when I crawl, I comes correct.
I didn't force him into doing nothing. Easy is a gangster. Easy is this big time gangster, right? You know, that's the man. How am I gonna be able to force him into doing anything?
As far as I'm concerned, this is the new beginning. I'm starting over. I'm not thinking about that stuff in the past. All that NWA and Eazy and, you know, all the rest of that stuff.
Know what I'm saying?
Damn right, it was a good day.
Project me and Cuba were working on. We really just got started right now, you know. The title of the album is going to be Helter Skelter, you know. I know a lot of people, you know, they say they have something to do with Charles Manson or something like that, but it has nothing to do with that. You know, the definition of Helter Skelter is simply things that happen for no apparent rhyme or reason.
Death Row's gonna be the biggest record company there is one of these days. You know, we're not taking any shorts. Just look at the foundation. The Chronic album is the foundation. The Snoop album is gonna be another brick on the house that Death Row built.
Cabbage Patch Kids who realized they were adopted on The Jon Stewart Show. Stay tuned.